Hello and welcome. Today is Thursday, the 7th day of September 2017, and welcome to a crypto trading video. My name is Derek, and what I mentioned in this video is how I view things, my strategies. Anything in which you decide to do is from your own risk, own reward. And I just want to go through different ideas. And I'm going to start off with what I think are four key things in trading that are very important. And the first one is that of strategy. What is it? What strategies are you using? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What kind of ideas do you have that can be very profitable? How can you go about to get maximum profit on your ideas with minimal risk? And of course, an easy one on that is if you try something new, you bet very low to start, and then when you get comfortable with it, you raise your risk total. Those are different strategies in which are, I think, important. And the strengths and weaknesses, I believe in any part of game theory, to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. So what are you going to be able to do that's going to give you the best return on your investment? How is it easiest for you to do it? And that's what I would focus towards. And then you have goals. What are you trying to accomplish? How much of a gain are you trying to get? And this way you can understand your risk versus reward. And we're going to talk a lot more about this with this chalkboard, go over a bunch of numbers. It's going to be like a math class almost. Isn't that fun, math? You know what? I remember back in the day in school, people were talking about an algebra class and math class. Man, we're not going to use this. And I was thinking back then, oh, yeah, I probably will. And I'm right. Mistakes. You know what? Let them go. I've made mistakes on here, and okay, just don't make that mistake again. What did you do wrong? And just don't let it happen, because the minimal mistakes that you're going to make, the better off you're going to do. And you're going to make some, and if you don't, then you're damn good, because I make them, like I say, every now and again. But because they're limited, they don't cost me. Emotions. Trade on others' emotions. Follow your game plan, because a lot of people, when markets get so high volume, it's talked about. You go on the page of your exchanges, they talk big about this. Everyone talks about it on YouTube. You get all this on posting forums. Coins up 80% over the last couple of days. It's going straight up, and that's when I guess a lot of people like to buy. And that's what it seems like. Greed on the way up, and on the way down, people panic. And we've seen this all throughout the summer. And just a few days ago with the China announcement, the markets go way down, people panic, and they sell. So trading on others' emotions, when they know when it's a mistake to sell and people are doing it, that's when you want to trade on it and then buy, and vice versa, of course, on the greed on the way up. Now let's take a look at the KMD Komodo chart on the 4-hour time frame. And I want to talk about different ways of trading as far as strategy. And in this example here, I had, within this time frame, I don't know which day or which days, but I had 30 tokens or 30 coins bought within probably somewhere around 30,000 Satoshi. And then this thing just skyrockets. So then, trading this like a boss, I have managed to trade just flipping them back and forth, turn 30 of them into well over 200. Simply by, again, buying it here, selling it there, and doing so for a profit. And I want to go over the mathematics within it, so I'm going to go back to the chalkboard. And within such, I have, when you are able to sell for higher prices than you buy, then you can do this in any of the styles. I'm going to go over all 5 of them. 1, accumulate heavy, which is buying back larger than what you sold. This is something you'd want to do if you are looking to get into a large amount of a holding. Number 2, which is what I am doing right now with Komodo, and that's buy back exactly what you sold in or around. And 3, a mixed bag. This is a situation where you're trying to make a trade that's going to increase both your base currency, either Bitcoin or Ethereum in most cases, and as well as the token or coin you are trying to buy, as well as a gain on the base, which means you are buying back exactly in coins what you sold, and 5 distribution, where you're buying back less coins than you sell. So let's explain this a little bit. And I'm going to start off with number 2, which is the accumulation phase. Let's assume that you are able to sell 100 of a certain thing at a code price of 150. And after commissions are all done, you get back 150 on your base currency. If you're able to buy back at a much cheaper price, say, even 1, well, you can now buy 150. Your base currency, with all this being stated, will remain unchanged, but you just got yourself 50 free coins. But let's assume you're in a situation where you sold 100 at 187. Well, you're going to return, obviously, that number. But if you're going to buy at $1.55, how many are you going to buy? And well, it's simple. You take the 187 that you returned, divided by the price of 155, and you'd be able to buy about 120 and a half. And that would let you be able to get some good gains. Now, when you look at the other options, let's take a look at number 1, which is when you really want to accumulate something really heavy. And I'll show you an example here. Let's assume that you sold 100 of them, and we'll sell it at even 1. So you sold 1 at 100, and now you're able to buy it back at, say, 80, which is a 20% reduction in price. And if we do some math, we can see that I can buy back 125 to get exactly what I did before. But let's just assume I bought back 135 at, say, 0.8. Then that would cost me 108. And I spent 100, so I'm now got 8 less units now. And I have accumulated, in this case, 35 extra tokens at an extra cost of 8. So that means that's costed me about 0.23 or so. You basically are buying a little bit cheaper when you just put the numbers in together. I really don't usually do this. If I want to go into something aggressively, then 2 things is going to come into play. 1, I'm just going to do something big, and that is just buy, and get it over with, put my buy orders in, and then thus limit the selling, at least at the earlier, cheaper prices. Let's move on to the other ones. Let's talk about the mixed bag, where you gain both tokens and your base currency. So I'll go through the similar examples like I was before. So if you sell 100 at 1 unit, you're going to have 100 back. Price action comes in at, say, 50. It's down 50%. Big situation here. If you wanted to buy it all back or go for get a complete regular accumulation, you buy 200 tokens. And in this situation here, maybe you buy 150, 140, 170. And what this would mean is on your sale of 100, you would have got 100 units. But if you buy 150, this is going to cost you 75, which means you would gain 25 on your base currency, and you would gain 50 on the tokens you are buying. So you get a little bit of extra in both. Moving on to number 4 on the gain base. This is just, I don't need to explain much more on this. If, say, you sell 500 units at whatever price, say 500, goes down to 400, and you buy another 500 back. So you're trying to make your coins in whichever fund stay around the same number. And then, of course, just profit in your base currency, which again is usually Bitcoin or Ethereum. And the distribute, which is pretty much the opposite of number 1, extremely easy to do. Let's assume you got a bunch of tokens and you want to scale yourself out. So you sell 100 at whatever price, and then at a lower price, maybe you're only buying back 90. So then the average 10 would sell at, and I'll show you an example of it on the chalkboard. So therefore, if you end up, say, selling 100 at 1, again, this is just easy math numbers to use, and now the price goes down to, say, 80. Well, now you only want to buy, say, you sold 100 at 1, and now the price is 0.18, and maybe now you want to, say, buy back, we'll say 80 again. Well, in a situation here, 8 times 8 is 64. So you would have basically gained 36 units on the difference, and you technically would have, you're out 20 tokens. So in this situation, you would have sold for about $1.80 or so instead of at the dollar. So you end up selling at a higher price. So that's one example of looking at the numbers in that method. But when it comes down to it, to be able to buy low and sell high, that is a skill. And if you have things not go your way, that means you can easily run out of tokens where you're selling at spots where you shouldn't, and you're not able to buy back when you can, either because you sold at the wrong time, you weren't able to buy back for a lower price. And it's going to come within how well you can do it. Is a lot of tricks to the trade, and I only know a few of them. But for myself, I have looked at ways in which maximize my gains, what's my best strength, and just go large towards it. And that's a big reason why I've been able to trade codes like the no limit coin that I've talked about, and in this case, the Komodo, basically like a boss, to the point where I can get amazing amount of free tokens, really, or free coins, simply by buying low, selling high. And then in this example, using number 2 with the accumulate, it's getting to the point where, okay, I started off with 30 tokens and I sold them, and then I was able to buy back like 45. And then it kept going. 45 turns into 60, 60 turns into 85, and so on and so forth. And next thing you know, it goes over 100, over 200, which is a beautiful thing to be able to do. And whenever you're doing anything, I believe within these finances, any type of mathematics you can do to understand the edges that you have makes it a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do, in my opinion, to understand the math the best you can. And another thing too, when you're using this in here, what I like to do is I find out, okay, how much did I just sell something for? Okay, maybe I sold for 0.051 Bitcoin. Well, now whatever the price is, whatever 0.051 Bitcoin is at the cheaper level, I'm going to buy at. And that's basically how I do it. So I don't need to get a calculator out for it, even things like that. But if I needed to, it's also easy to do. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this helps. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.